Hey everybody, Kevin here. Thanks for joining me for this Everything and Anything video. Today I'm coloring up Snow White just to be fair, and I'm using Ohuhu Markers. And I'm doing a dark skin tone, and for the skin tone I am starting with Y12 or the Y12, and then moving on to the YR9, which goes right underneath that Y12. Then next, I'm going to move in with my E240, and I'm going to bring that down into the cheeks and around the hair, and then right under that chin line. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the E220. So I'm going to use that just to blend it in. So this is my first time in a long time trying a no line coloring, as you can see. So with the no line coloring, I stamped the image a lighter. However, I made sure to put some of the black Memento ink in for the eyes still. So I'm just going back in a second time with my Ohuhu markers. And again, I'm using the Y12, YR9, E240, and E220 for this skin tone. So obviously this is a sped up coloring so that you wouldn't have to watch a video that was an hour and a half long. But I really liked how the blend went for this dark skin tone. So Ohuhu's I'm still new with, so it's still kind of a practice. It's still kind of I'm finding my way. So for her mouth, I did outline it because I did need the black lines back in there and to find out where her tongue was and the dark part behind her mouth. And then I went in and colored her tongue and her lip. And with her tongue, I used the R28 and R20. And then her lip, I used the R8 for her top lip. And then I just went in with my micron pen just to get that a little bit deeper and darker into that eye, into her pupil there. And I used my fine Posca pen just to add some of that white in there. And then I'm going to add some highlights back into her eyes where I want them. So I also going to go ahead and color her neck and her arms. And I'm using the lighter colors, the E220 and the E240, just to add a little bit of that shading in there. And of course, I kind of had forgotten about her ears, so I went back in and outlined those a little bit as well. So with no line coloring, definitely it is going to take something to get used to decide how you're going to color it, where the lines are going to be, how you're going to define the different sections. So for the top of her dress, I used the G7, G5, and G2, and I just went in and went ahead and blended them in for that kind of like that corseted top part of her dress. I don't know if that's the proper term for it. And again, my G7 was my darker, then the G5 mid, and G2 was my light color. And then I am going to go in with the micron pen and just put a line right up through the middle, just to give it a little bit more definition there. So I'm going back in with that G7 just to give it a little bit more definition, just get it a little bit darker in there. This card, I'm going to say it was definitely an experiment. So this is kind of where I'm going to say, do you know what? This is where you need to sometimes just go out of your comfort zone, because I definitely did. Yeah, it was a difficult process. But the color that I just put in was GY172, really light color. Then the base of her dress is GY5, G070, and GY7. So just our mid-range of greens, a little bit more in that olivey to lime tone. And I'm using that GY5 first, and just going in and adding all the dark. So I'm going over the lines. So I don't know, maybe I should have left the lines a little bit lighter because I'm going for no line coloring, but I'm kind of like going with lines. So we'll see how it turns out in the end. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think. How do you think I did? Definitely, again, I'm going to say it's an experiment. So you kind of got to play with it. And obviously, practice makes perfect. So you can see I'm adding it into her top sleeves there as well. But I just wanted to take this like Snow White image and change it up, because Snow White doesn't always need to be fair skinned, and we can change the characters to suit whatever we want. So going in here with the G070, and then just filling in that color. And with the Ohuhus, I feel that I really love to blend them. So I'll go in multiple times with my colors and decide where and how it'll kind of blend together. And you can see here, I'm just kind of flicking it from the bottom right of her dress, and I'm just filling in with the lighter colors as I go, because I kind of want my light colors to still be up on the kind of like top left or shining in from there on the dress anyway, to where it's shadowed, where she's holding the dress in her hand. So here I'm going in, I believe this is my GY7 now. And then I do, and the end, I end up adding some Y030 to just add a little bit more highlight in there. So it's a little bit more of a yellow that I'm going to put in towards the end. But again, I'm going to go in, I'm going to redefine everything, because sometimes when you blend, you can lose some definition. So you got to be careful about that. And I did want to see some of my lines back in there again. But yeah, I was inspired. I think like Misty had kind of thought about doing a no line coloring in one of her videos, and I'm not sure. I think it maybe didn't work out for her, and she kind of abandoned it. And I was like, "Do you know what? I'm gonna try. We're gonna stick with it." I did have another Snow White image stamped out just in case this one just didn't go, and I was a little frustrated with it. I'm not gonna lie, but do you know what? It's practice makes perfect, and I'm not going to sit here and say that everything I do is perfect. And sometimes, you know what? We're allowed to have a human card, which means there's allowed to be mistakes. You're allowed to have it not be 100% perfect, because do you know what? This is a handmade card. It's a handmade image. You're coloring it. It's made from you, and there's heart in it. And really, that's all that matters. And you know what? As long as the person you give it to thinks it's cute, it's cute. And if you think it's cute, it's cute. So here you can see I'm just adding a little bit more shadow in there again, because I was like, do you know what? Nope, needs more. Add a little bit more depth in there. And into the sleeves as well. So the sleeves and the base of the dress are the same color. All right, so what are we working on here next? What am I going to grab? Our purples. So this is for the color inside the little sleeves, those little peekaboo parts, and her bow. So this is V160, V030, and V230. And again, we're using Ohuhu markers here. So these are not Copic. This is Ohuhu. I've been trying to use them more lately. They're kind of just becoming more and more popular as an alternative to Copic. So again, I just went through and I was like, you know what? I'm going to outline everything first. Then we're going to add in our shadow, our dark tones, our midtones, our highlights, everything after that. So here I'm just going in with that V030 just to add some of that mid-tone in there. And I'm like, how does this bow supposed to look? Where are the bumps? Where are the folds? How's it gonna look? So I was just playing with it. Then the V230 was my last color and my lightest color, and I just put it in there to blend that bow in. And a lot of my colors, especially with the Ohuhu, I do like to go in a second time. Like you saw I did with the skin, with the parts of her dress, and now with this bow. Like I'm just gonna go in and be like, okay, I've kind of got my first layer of color in there. It's saturated. Now, what do I want to do to make it perfect, or at least get it closer to what I had envisioned? And sometimes that just means I'm going to add more color, or just add more color in certain spots. Like you can see here, I added some more of that dark, which is the V160 in, but not everywhere I had the first time. And then I just used my other colors in with it after. All right, what's up next? So we're doing her hair. So her hair, I decided to do a sort of a stippling technique to kind of give her more of that afro textured hair. So her hair is a bunch of colors. It is Y13, E310, BR1, E110, Y9, and Y260. So that's, what is that? 6 colors? 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, that's 6 colors I'm using. So we're starting with that Y13 as our darkest. We're putting it near the base and where I think she'd have a little bit more shadow. Then we're moving to that E310 and we're just stippling it in there as well. And yeah, I was really happy with how this was turning out. At first, I was like, I don't know. Are we going to make it? Is this going to make it? Is it going to break it? I wasn't 100% sure. And sometimes when you're like just staring at an image and as you're coloring it, sometimes you're not sure. And I was like, is this going to work the way I want it to work? I'm like, I've seen it done before. I know it's a technique we've used before. I'm pretty sure I've done it before, but I've never done it with like 6 colors. And I was like, and this hairstyle was not kind of drawn for super textured hair. So it's like, how's this going to work? But as I added in layer by layer, because we moved into that BR1, and then from the BR1, I went into the E110. So we just kind of got lighter and lighter, and we added, it's kind of more of a yellowy tone near the end, more of those earth tones. Because I did use the E's and then I went into the Y's just because I wanted it to have that highlighted look and that her ends were just like lighter from the sun, and where light hits it I just wanted to look a little bit lighter. So originally I'd kind of tried to stay within the lines of her hair or the no line lines that were stamped in that tan, and then I was like, do you know what, no, she's just gonna have hair where she has hair. So it's like, you know what, we're gonna go in and we're gonna stipple it in there. So you can see I'm going back in with my Y13 now, and we're slowly trying to figure out again where's the darker parts, where's the texture, where's that shadow, where's the light hitting, and I'm just going in with all those colors again. So the Y13, E310, BR1, E110, the Y9, and finally the Y260. And there's nothing really to it. I just literally just was like dot 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 dot. Just kind of sometimes stop, look at it, move on. But it's a fairly simple technique, and I think in the end you can kind of see that it turned out. I think it turned out the way I wanted, but it was a process getting there, and you kind of had to trust the process. So I think here is where I was like, what's going on? Then I was like, no, we're gonna add some more because it wasn't right. Like, you know what, it needs more color. We need to get rid of where the white is, and I think this is where it's like, yeah, we need to get rid of this white. And then so I did end up kind of fussy cutting this out after as well. So I was like, do you know what, too much white, don't like where it is on the bow. I'm like, just didn't look natural to me, and I wanted to fit in with the background more. So I was like, you know what, let's cut those off. So here you can see I cut those off. Then I'm going in with that micron pen, and I'm just kind of doing my little squiggle lines, my little C shapes, just to add a little bit more texture into the hair there. And then I'm going to go around her hairline as well and kind of give her like little baby hairs that are just kind of popping out there. So just kind of giving everything that little bit more dimension in over that light color. Then I'm going in with some of my favorite Castell Polychromos. It's the set of 24. So I just used some greens to add in a little bit more shadow in there and give her some more kind of like pleats and movement into her dress. And just wanted to add in some depth and texture just into that bodice part. And then up into that collar as well. So it's just like, you know what, we're gonna add a little bit more in there. So that's just what I'm doing. You can see here I'm kind of hitting it with a little bit of the yellow, adding a little bit of that highlight color in there where I wanted it. And this is something that I think totally have fun with to do. And then here you can see I'm using that like deep red burgundy kind of plum coloring, and I guess you call it. And I outline that bow again because I wanted to kind of pop out. And here I had fun with it because I was like, you know what, we can add a little bit more shading in here, can kind of give it a wee bit more texture. And now I did go ahead and grab like a blending stump, but if you want to use your finger too, just to kind of like almost really just get that wax, that pencil crayon, or sorry, colored pencil, I should say, to blend, you can do that. So here you can see I was using my finger, and then I do go ahead and I find blending stuff, and I'm like, no, that's gonna work better. I'm like, this finger thing is not working. It's too small of an area. And you can see I added some blue, added a little bit of red, and I kind of did like a little crosshatch thing up in the bow too. Just again to give it a little bit more, give it a little bit more texture. And again, going with some green. And this today was really about just kind of having fun and seeing, can I do it? What's it going to turn out like? So if you're just going to be like, hey, shot in the dark because no line color going to work out, hey, I think it went okay. So I used the My Backyard Builder dies from Stamp Anything, or Builder dies, and I cut all kinds of parts out of it. I was just like, cut, cut, cut. Didn't know what I wanted to use, but I was just like, well, let's use it. And what are we going to get? Then I did also use, so this is the brand new, and I thought I added it in here, but this is the new birch tree stencil that's coming out in the August Stencil Club. So if you're wondering where's that stencil from, that's where it is. And then I added just white Posca pen to this little twig branch part I cut out, and just added some marker on there to kind of create that same pattern. And then I was like, you know what, we'll just figure it out and we'll create a base. And that's what I did. So we made it a birthday greetings card, put on some black cardstock, really layered up the trees. And I hope that you try it yourself. No line color enjoy it. Is a little bit of a challenge, but it can be done. And remember, I'm new to it. I gave it a try. You can try it too.